Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Quiet is often described as the absence of sound. But in the human nervous system, quiet is something more specific than silence. Many people notice that when the day finally ends and the world grows still, the mind does not immediately follow. The body may be resting. Movement may have slowed. Yet attention continues to hover, alert without a clear reason. This is a common experience, especially after long hours of stimulation, conversation, screens, and decision-making. In moments like these, quiet can feel incomplete. The environment has softened, but the internal pace remains slightly elevated. This mismatch is not a personal failure, and it is not a sign that rest is being done incorrectly. It is a natural biological response to sustained input. The human brain is designed to monitor change. Sound, motion, light, and novelty all signal potential relevance. When these signals are present for most of the day, the nervous system maintains a state of readiness. Even when external input decreases, that readiness does not switch off instantly. It tapers. Research in neuroscience shows that reduced sensory input lowers activity in the brain's alerting systems. But this reduction occurs gradually rather than all at once. The systems responsible for vigilance respond to patterns over time, not single moments of stillness. Quiet works through consistency, not immediacy. This is why silence alone does not always feel calming. Silence can arrive suddenly. Quiet arrives more slowly. Quiet is what happens when the brain begins to register that nothing new is being asked of it. When sounds become predictable or sparse. When visual detail softens. When the pace of incoming information drops below the threshold that demands constant interpretation. From a biological perspective, quiet is a shift in workload. Studies of sensory processing show that when external input decreases, the brain reallocates energy away from monitoring and toward internal maintenance. Neural activity becomes less scattered. Signaling between regions becomes more synchronized. This is one of the conditions that allows restoration to begin. In modern environments, this shift is often delayed. Artificial lighting extends visual input into late hours. Background noise persists even in otherwise still spaces. Digital information continues to present novelty without pause. The nervous system adapts by staying partially engaged. When that engagement lingers, it can feel like the mind is active without purpose. Thoughts may appear without direction. Attention may drift but not settle. This is not because quiet is ineffective, but because it has not yet had time to take hold. Quiet does not demand effort. It does not require intention. It operates by reducing the number of signals competing for processing. As input thins, the brain begins to downshift naturally. Heart rate variability increases. Stress-related hormone signaling softens. The systems responsible for repair and regulation gain more access to energy and attention. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. Throughout this exploration, quiet will not be treated as a destination. It will be observed as a process, a gradual change in how information is received and interpreted, a biological condition that allows the brain to shift from monitoring the world to maintaining itself. This is why quiet often feels subtle at first. Its effects accumulate rather than announce themselves. The absence of urgency becomes noticeable only after urgency has faded. In the sections ahead, we will explore how quiet influences perception, nervous system balance, and the brain's ability to recover from sustained demand. Not as a technique, not as a goal, but as a natural state that emerges when stimulation decreases in a steady, consistent way. Quiet does not force the brain to rest. It removes the reasons not to. I'm glad you're here. Quiet does not begin with stillness. It begins with a reduction in the need to pay attention. For most of the day, the brain is engaged in continuous monitoring. It listens for changes in sound. It tracks movement in the visual field. It scans for novelty, inconsistency, or anything that might require a response. This monitoring happens automatically, without conscious choice. From a neurological perspective, attention is not something the brain turns on. It is something the brain relaxes out of when conditions allow. A key system involved in this process is the brain's alerting network, sometimes referred to as the vigilance system. This network responds to uncertainty. When the environment is unpredictable, signaling remains high. When patterns become stable, signaling begins to soften. Quiet supports this softening by reducing variation. When sounds repeat without change, the auditory system stops prioritizing them. Neurons respond less intensely to familiar input, a process known as sensory adaptation. The same is true for visual information. When light levels stabilize and visual detail decreases, fewer resources are devoted to interpretation. This is why environments with low variation feel different from environments that are merely silent. A single sharp noise in silence can sustain alertness. A steady, unchanging background allows the brain to disengage more fully. Research on sensory processing shows that predictability is more calming than absence. The brain relaxes fastest when it can reliably anticipate what will happen next. Quiet creates this condition by limiting surprise. As monitoring demands decrease, activity in the sympathetic nervous system begins to drop. This system is responsible for readiness and response. When its activity lowers, the parasympathetic system gains influence. This shift supports digestion, immune activity, and neural maintenance. Importantly, this transition does not require conscious relaxation. It occurs below awareness. The brain constantly evaluates how much effort it needs to expend to stay safe and informed. When that effort decreases, regulation follows naturally. In modern settings, sustained monitoring is common. Multiple sensory streams overlap. Audio, visual, and informational input arrive simultaneously. Even when the body is still, the brain may continue to process change at a high rate. Quiet alters this balance by thinning those streams. As sound becomes sparse, fewer auditory predictions are required. As visual detail softens, spatial tracking slows. As novelty decreases, attention no longer needs to jump rapidly between signals. This reduction allows the brain to enter a lower energy mode of operation. Studies using brain imaging have shown that during periods of reduced sensory input, overall neural firing becomes more efficient. Fewer regions compete for resources. Communication between areas becomes more rhythmic and coordinated. This pattern is associated with rest and restoration. Quiet also affects how time is perceived. When fewer events occur, internal clocks lose urgency. The sense of pacing relaxes. This contributes to the feeling that moments are lengthening rather than rushing forward. This slowing is not boredom. It is a sign that the brain no longer needs to prioritize speed. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes sense. Early human environments included long periods of low stimulation. Nightfall reduced visual input. Social activity decreased. Soundscapes became simpler and more predictable. The nervous system evolved to use these periods for recalibration. In contrast, environments that remain dense with input extend monitoring beyond its natural window. Quiet helps close that window. As monitoring decreases, internal processes become more noticeable, not because they increase, but because external competition has dropped. This is often mistaken for restlessness. In reality, it is a sign that attention is beginning to turn inward. The brain is shifting focus. Quiet does not suppress thought. It changes what thought is competing with. Over time, as external demand remains low, internal activity also begins to slow. The need to track, assess, and prepare diminishes. What remains is a state of lower vigilance and higher regulation. This is one of the earliest stages of neural recovery. In the next stretch of this exploration, the focus will remain on how quiet reshapes sensory processing, allowing the brain to move away from constant evaluation and toward internal balance. The process continues gently, without instruction, as input continues to thin and the need to monitor fades. As monitoring slows, another process becomes easier to observe: the gradual reduction of sensory load. Sensory load refers to the total amount of information the brain must process at any given time. Sound, light, movement, language, and visual complexity all contribute. Each signal requires interpretation, even when it seems minor or familiar. Over long periods, this processing creates neural fatigue. Neural fatigue is not the same as tiredness in the body. It is a state where signaling systems have been active for extended durations without sufficient recovery. When this happens, the brain becomes less efficient. Attention feels scattered. Thoughts appear without clear direction. Small inputs can feel disproportionately noticeable. Quiet directly affects this condition by lowering the number of signals entering the system. When fewer sounds arrive, auditory processing regions reduce their firing rate. When visual detail softens, fewer neurons are recruited to track edges, motion, and contrast. This decrease does not happen instantly, but it becomes more pronounced as quiet remains consistent. Research on sensory deprivation, even in mild forms, shows that reduced input allows overstimulated neural circuits to recalibrate. Synaptic activity becomes less erratic. Background noise in neural signaling decreases. This improves efficiency rather than shutting the system down. Quiet is not deprivation in the extreme sense. It is moderation. The brain does not require constant stimulation to function well. In fact, prolonged stimulation can interfere with its ability to regulate itself. Quiet restores balance by allowing certain pathways to rest, while others maintain low-level function. One measurable effect of reduced sensory load is a change in cortical excitability. When input remains high, neurons stay closer to their firing threshold. When input decreases, thresholds rise slightly, making random activation less likely. This contributes to a sense of steadiness. Another effect involves the brain's filtering systems. These systems decide which signals deserve attention and which can be ignored. Under heavy load, filtering becomes less precise. Under quieter conditions, filtering improves. This is why quiet can feel clearer rather than empty. As filtering sharpens, fewer irrelevant signals reach conscious awareness. The mind feels less crowded, not because thoughts are being suppressed, but because unnecessary information is no longer being forwarded. Neural fatigue also affects emotional regulation. When sensory load is high, emotional responses can become more reactive. The brain has less capacity to evaluate context calmly. Quiet reduces this pressure. Studies have shown that environments with lower sensory complexity are associated with decreased activity in brain regions linked to stress and threat detection. This shift allows regulatory circuits to function with less interference. Importantly, this process does not rely on intention. The brain responds automatically to changes in input density. In daily life, sensory load often remains elevated well into the evening. Artificial sound persists. Screens maintain visual complexity. Language continues to demand interpretation. The nervous system adapts by staying partially engaged. Quiet interrupts this pattern. As input thins, the brain receives fewer prompts to react. Over time, this allows fatigued circuits to recover their baseline responsiveness. This recovery is subtle. It does not announce itself with sudden calm. It appears as a gradual easing of internal pressure. Neural fatigue does not disappear all at once. It resolves through sustained periods of reduced demand. Quiet provides the conditions for this resolution. From a biological standpoint, this makes quiet restorative rather than passive. The brain is not idle. It is recalibrating. Energy that was previously allocated to processing external information becomes available for internal maintenance. Waste products from neural metabolism are cleared more efficiently. Communication between regions becomes less strained. This is one reason quiet is often described as refreshing, even without sleep. It reduces load before rest fully begins. As sensory demand continues to decrease, the brain becomes more receptive to slower rhythms. Patterns of activity associated with rest gain influence. The groundwork for deeper regulation is laid. Quiet does not rush this process. It supports it by staying consistent. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how this reduction in sensory load influences larger brain networks, including those involved in memory, emotion, and long-term regulation. For now, the system continues to lighten its workload, responding naturally as stimulation fades and neural fatigue begins to loosen its hold. As sensory load continues to decrease, the nervous system begins to reorganize how it allocates energy. This shift is subtle, but it is one of the most important effects of quiet. The nervous system operates through balance. At any moment, it weighs the need for readiness against the need for restoration. When stimulation is high, readiness takes priority. When stimulation drops, restoration becomes possible. Quiet plays a direct role in this transition. The autonomic nervous system has two primary branches that influence this balance. One supports alertness, action, and response. The other supports rest, digestion, immune function, and repair. Both are always active to some degree, but their influence changes depending on environmental demand. When sensory input remains dense, the alerting branch maintains dominance. Heart rate stays slightly elevated. Muscle tone remains higher than necessary. Neural circuits involved in monitoring remain engaged. As quiet persists, this dominance begins to soften. Research shows that reduced auditory and visual stimulation lowers baseline arousal in the nervous system. Signals associated with vigilance decrease. This allows the restorative branch to exert greater influence without conscious effort. One way this shift is measured is through heart rate variability. Higher variability reflects greater flexibility in the nervous system and is associated with improved regulation. Quiet environments are consistently linked to increases in this variability, indicating a move toward recovery. Another marker involves stress-related hormones. When stimulation is continuous, the body maintains elevated levels of these signals. As input decreases and predictability increases, hormone output begins to decline. This reduction does not require sleep. It begins during quiet wakefulness. Quiet also affects muscle activity. In the absence of frequent sensory triggers, baseline muscle tension decreases. Small adjustments and micro-responses become less frequent. The body uses less energy to maintain posture and readiness. These changes create a physiological context that favors repair. Neural tissue is metabolically expensive. The brain consumes a significant portion of the body's energy, even at rest. During periods of high demand, energy is directed toward rapid signaling and response. During quieter periods, energy can be redirected toward maintenance. Maintenance includes processes such as synaptic rebalancing, waste clearance, and cellular repair. These processes operate continuously, but become more efficient when external demands are low. Quiet provides this opportunity by reducing the number of competing signals. Importantly, this shift does not feel dramatic. There is no clear moment when the nervous system announces that repair has begun. Instead, there is a gradual easing. The sense of urgency fades. Internal pacing slows. Responses become less sharp, less reactive. This is often mistaken for drowsiness. In reality, it is regulation. The nervous system is designed to use quieter periods to prepare for future demand. Repair is not the absence of activity. It is a different mode of activity. In environments where quiet is rare or brief, this mode may be delayed. The system remains biased toward readiness, even when action is no longer required. Quiet corrects this bias. As stimulation continues to thin, the nervous system receives repeated confirmation that vigilance is no longer necessary. With each confirmation, restorative processes gain more access to resources. This is why quiet works best when it is steady. Sudden silence can startle the system. Sustained quiet reassures it. Over time, the nervous system settles into a lower energy state that supports healing at multiple levels. Inflammatory signaling decreases. Immune processes stabilize. Neural circuits regain balance. Quiet does not force these changes. It removes the conditions that prevent them. As this reorganization continues, the brain becomes more receptive to slower patterns of activity. Networks associated with reflection, memory integration, and internal processing begin to emerge more clearly. In the next section, attention will turn toward how quiet reshapes communication between brain regions, creating the conditions for deeper coordination and long-term recovery. For now, the nervous system continues its quiet shift, guided not by instruction, but by the steady absence of demand. As the nervous system shifts toward repair, changes begin to appear in how different parts of the brain communicate with one another. These changes are subtle, but they are central to how quiet supports healing. The brain is not a single unified structure. It is a collection of specialized regions, each responsible for different tasks. Some areas process sound, others track visual detail. Some manage movement, others regulate emotion, memory, and internal state. During periods of high stimulation, communication between these regions becomes fragmented. Multiple networks compete for attention and resources. Signals overlap. Timing becomes less synchronized. Quiet reduces this competition. When sensory input thins, fewer regions demand priority at the same time. This allows large-scale brain networks to coordinate more smoothly. Instead of rapid, scattered signaling, communication begins to follow slower, more rhythmic patterns. Neuroscientists observe this shift through changes in brainwave activity. Faster patterns associated with alertness become less dominant. Slower patterns associated with integration and regulation gain strength. This transition reflects a move away from immediate response and toward internal coherence. One network that becomes more active during quiet states is involved in internal processing. This network supports memory consolidation, emotional integration, and self-referential thought. It operates most efficiently when external demands are low. Quiet creates the conditions for this network to function without interruption. At the same time, regions responsible for constant scanning and threat detection reduce their activity. They remain available but no longer dominate communication. This rebalancing allows information to move more freely across the brain. Coordination improves not because the brain is doing more, but because it is doing less at once. Another important effect of quiet is improved signal timing. Neurons communicate through patterns of electrical activity that depend on precise timing. Under heavy sensory load, this timing can become irregular. Quiet allows timing to stabilize. Stable timing supports learning and repair. Synaptic connections strengthen or weaken more accurately. Networks refine their structure based on recent experience rather than constant interruption. This process is sometimes described as neural housekeeping. It involves sorting, updating, and integrating information gathered throughout the day. Quiet gives the brain uninterrupted space to perform this work. Importantly, this coordination does not require sleep to begin. It starts during quiet wakefulness. Sleep deepens and extends it, but quiet prepares the ground. In daily life, moments of quiet often arrive late. By the time stimulation decreases, neural systems may already be fatigued. Even so, the brain responds quickly to reduced demand. As coordination improves, internal activity becomes less effortful. Thoughts lose urgency. Emotional responses soften. The sense of being pulled in multiple directions fades. This does not mean the brain becomes inactive. It means activity becomes more unified. Quiet supports this unity by limiting interruptions. Each uninterrupted moment allows networks to remain engaged long enough to complete their internal processes. Over time, repeated exposure to quiet strengthens the brain's ability to transition into these coordinated states more efficiently. The system learns that low-demand periods are safe and useful. This learning is biological, not conscious. It shapes how quickly the brain can move from readiness to regulation. As coordination continues to improve, the conditions for deeper restoration become stronger. Memory systems begin to integrate information more fully. Emotional circuits regain balance. Physiological rhythms slow and align. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how quiet supports these deeper processes, including memory consolidation and emotional repair. For now, the brain continues to align its many parts, responding to the steady simplicity of reduced input and the gentle rhythm of quiet that allows communication to settle into harmony. As coordination between brain regions improves, another change becomes noticeable beneath the surface. The way the brain uses energy begins to shift. The human brain consumes a large amount of the body's energy, even when the body is still. Much of this energy is spent maintaining readiness, monitoring sensory input, updating predictions, preparing responses that may never be needed. When quiet reduces external demand, this energy expenditure changes. Fewer signals require interpretation. Fewer predictions need constant updating. The cost of staying alert begins to drop. Neuroscientific studies show that during periods of reduced stimulation, the brain lowers its overall metabolic rate slightly. This does not mean the brain is powering down. It means energy is being redirected. Instead of fueling rapid response systems, energy becomes available for maintenance and optimization. Processes that are always running in the background gain more access to resources. One of these processes involves synaptic balance. Throughout the day, synapses strengthen in response to experience. This strengthening is useful, but it must be regulated. If too many connections remain highly active, efficiency decreases. Quiet supports this regulation by reducing the number of competing signals. With fewer external demands, synaptic activity can recalibrate. Connections that are less relevant weaken slightly. Important pathways remain stable. This balancing improves clarity and efficiency. Another energy-related process involves waste clearance. Neural activity produces metabolic byproducts that must be removed. During high activity, clearance competes with signaling. When activity slows, clearance becomes more effective. Quiet wakefulness allows this process to begin before sleep arrives. It does not replace sleep, but it prepares the system. Energy is also conserved at the level of prediction. The brain is constantly anticipating what will happen next. Prediction is efficient when the environment is stable. Quiet simplifies the environment, reducing the number of predictions that need updating. As prediction effort decreases, cognitive strain softens. This often appears as a feeling of mental spaciousness, not because the brain is empty, but because it is no longer spending energy anticipating constant change. Importantly, this shift does not require awareness. The brain adjusts automatically in response to input density. In environments where quiet is sustained, these energy-saving patterns become familiar. The system learns that reduced demand is safe. Transitions into lower energy modes become easier over time. This learning affects how quickly the brain can recover from stress. A system accustomed to quiet can downshift more efficiently after periods of stimulation. In contrast, when quiet is rare, energy use remains biased toward readiness. Even during rest, the brain may continue to expend resources unnecessarily. Quiet corrects this imbalance gently. As energy demand continues to decrease, physiological rhythms begin to align more closely. Breathing slows. Heart rate stabilizes. Neural signaling becomes more economical. This economy supports healing. Healing does not require force. It requires conditions where energy can be used wisely. Quiet provides those conditions by reducing wasteful expenditure. Nothing new is added. Excess is removed. As this process continues, the brain becomes more receptive to deeper forms of restoration. Memory systems begin preparing for consolidation. Emotional circuits become less reactive. Internal rhythms settle further. In the next section, attention will turn toward how quiet influences memory and integration, building on the energy shifts already underway. For now, the brain continues to conserve and redirect its resources, guided by the steady simplicity of quiet and the absence of unnecessary demand. As energy use becomes more efficient, the brain begins to favor another essential function: integration. Memory is not stored the moment it is experienced. It is processed, reorganized, and woven into existing networks over time. This work depends on conditions that are low in interruption. Quiet supports these conditions. Throughout the day, the brain collects fragments of experience, sensory impressions, emotional responses, information that may or may not be useful later. These fragments remain loosely organized until the brain has space to integrate them. When stimulation remains high, integration is delayed. New input continues to arrive, and attention stays oriented outward. Quiet shifts this orientation inward. Neuroscientific research shows that reduced sensory demand allows memory-related regions to communicate more freely with one another. The hippocampus, a structure involved in forming and organizing memories, becomes more active during low input states. Its interactions with other brain areas increase in coherence. This coherence supports consolidation. Consolidation is the process by which temporary memory traces become more stable. It does not require conscious recall. It happens automatically when conditions are right. Quiet provides those conditions by minimizing competition. When fewer external signals demand attention, memory systems can replay recent information more efficiently. This replay strengthens useful connections and allows less relevant details to fade. This process is subtle. It does not feel like remembering. It feels like easing. Many people notice that during quiet moments, insights appear without effort. Connections become clearer. unfinished thoughts resolve themselves. This is integration at work. Importantly, this process can begin before sleep. Quiet wakefulness allows early stages of consolidation to unfold. Sleep deepens and completes it, but quiet prepares the pathways. Another aspect of memory, integration, involves emotional tone. Experiences are not stored as neutral facts. They are tagged with emotional context. High sensory load can intensify these tags. Quiet softens them. As arousal decreases, emotional signals become less sharp. Memory systems can reassess experiences with greater balance. This reduces the likelihood that emotionally charged moments remain overactive. Research indicates that lower arousal states support more adaptive emotional processing. The brain can integrate experiences without amplifying stress responses. Quiet also influences how memories are organized over time. When input slows, the brain is better able to place events within a broader temporal context. This helps distinguish what is recent from what is distant. Urgency decreases. This temporal smoothing contributes to a sense of continuity. The day no longer feels fragmented. Experiences begin to settle into sequence. Integration is not an active effort. It is an emergent property of reduced demand. Quiet does not instruct the brain to organize memory. It removes the obstacles that prevent it. As integration continues, the need to mentally revisit unfinished material decreases. Loops loosen. Repetition fades. This often creates the impression that the mind is becoming quieter on its own. Not because thoughts are being suppressed, but because they are being resolved. In environments where quiet is consistent, memory systems learn to expect this integration window. They become more efficient at using it. As this efficiency grows, the transition from wakefulness toward rest becomes smoother. The brain carries less unresolved material forward. In the sections ahead, attention will shift toward how quiet supports emotional regulation alongside memory, further reducing internal strain. For now, integration continues in the background, guided by the steady absence of interruption and the gentle space that quiet provides for the brain to organize what it has already lived through. As memory integration continues, another closely linked process begins to stabilize: emotional regulation. Emotions are not separate from sensory input or memory. They are shaped by how much information the brain is processing and how urgently it believes responses are required. When sensory load is high, emotional systems remain more reactive. Quiet reduces this reactivity by lowering baseline arousal. Regions of the brain involved in emotional processing are sensitive to input density. When sound, light, and novelty remain elevated, these regions receive frequent signals to stay alert. Emotional responses become sharper, faster, and sometimes disproportionate. As quiet persists, these signals decrease. Research shows that lower sensory stimulation is associated with reduced activity in brain circuits, linked to threat detection and emotional amplification. This does not suppress emotion. It allows emotion to be processed with greater stability. Quiet creates space between stimulus and response. When that space widens, emotional signals have time to be evaluated rather than immediately acted upon. Intensity softens. Reactivity decreases. This shift often feels like emotional settling, rather than emotional change. Feelings remain present, but they lose urgency. One reason for this effect lies in how the brain integrates emotion with memory. During high arousal, emotional tags are applied quickly and strongly. During quieter states, these tags can be adjusted. The brain revisits emotional experiences with less physiological pressure. Context becomes clearer. Perspective widens. Studies on stress recovery show that environments low in sensory complexity support faster emotional normalization after challenging experiences. Heart rate, hormone signaling, and neural activity associated with stress all return to baseline more efficiently. Quiet facilitates this recovery by maintaining predictability. Predictability is calming for emotional systems. When nothing unexpected occurs, the need to prepare for sudden change decreases. Emotional circuits follow this lead. Another important aspect of emotional regulation involves internal dialogue. When external input slows, internal narratives often become more noticeable at first. This can feel uncomfortable briefly. However, as quiet continues, these narratives lose momentum. Without constant stimulation to feed them, emotional loops weaken. This process does not require analysis or resolution. It occurs through reduced reinforcement. Quiet does not argue with emotion. It starves unnecessary escalation. As emotional systems settle, the brain's capacity for nuance improves. Experiences are no longer processed in extremes. Subtlety returns. This subtlety is a sign of regulation. In daily life, emotional dysregulation often persists, not because experiences are unresolved, but because the nervous system has not had adequate conditions to recalibrate. Quiet provides those conditions. As regulation improves, internal signals become easier to interpret. Fatigue feels like fatigue, not agitation. Sadness feels contained rather than overwhelming. Contentment becomes more noticeable. These shifts are quiet themselves. They do not announce change. They reveal it through ease. As emotional regulation stabilizes, the brain becomes less vigilant overall. The need to scan for threat diminishes further. This reinforces the shifts already underway in energy use and coordination. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how quiet influences larger-scale brain networks and long-term regulation, building on the emotional stability that has begun to take hold. For now, emotional systems continue to soften their grip, responding naturally to the steady, low-demand conditions that quiet provides, and allowing balance to return without effort or instruction. As emotional regulation settles, activity begins to shift within one of the brain's most important large-scale systems, the default mode network. This network is active when the brain is not focused on external tasks. It supports reflection, internal organization, meaning-making, and the sense of continuity over time. It becomes more prominent when sensory demand is low. Quiet allows this network to emerge without competition. During periods of high stimulation, the default mode network is frequently interrupted. Attention is pulled outward. Task-oriented systems dominate. Internal processing remains fragmented. When external input decreases, these interruptions lessen. Neuroscientific studies show that reduced sensory engagement is associated with increased coherence within the default mode network. communication between its regions becomes more stable. This stability supports integration rather than reaction. The default mode network does not generate content randomly. It works with material that has already been collected. Memories, emotions, and impressions are organized into broader patterns. Quiet provides the uninterrupted time needed for this work. One effect of this activation is a change in how experiences are contextualized. Events that felt isolated during the day begin to feel connected. Meaning emerges without effort. This process is not narrative in the traditional sense. It is structural. The brain aligns experiences within an internal framework that supports coherence. Another effect involves self-referential processing. The default mode network contributes to how individuals perceive continuity of self over time. When overstimulation persists, this sense can feel scattered or strained. Quiet stabilizes it. By reducing external demand, the brain has more capacity to maintain internal consistency. This contributes to feelings of groundedness and internal calm. Importantly, this network is sensitive to predictability. Sudden changes in input can disrupt its activity. Steady quiet allows it to remain engaged long enough to complete its processes. Research has shown that when the default mode network functions efficiently, overall cognitive load decreases. The brain requires less effort to maintain internal balance. Mental fatigue lessens. This does not mean thought disappears. It means thought becomes less effortful. In many cases, the activation of the default mode network during quiet is associated with a gentle drift in attention. Focus softens, awareness becomes less anchored to specific stimuli. This drift is often the prelude to deeper rest. Quiet supports this transition by maintaining low demand across sensory channels. No single system is pulled into priority. Balance holds. As this balance persists, the default mode network integrates information across longer timescales. Recent experiences are placed alongside older ones. Emotional context is updated. Urgency continues to fade. This integration reduces the need for repetitive mental checking. Unfinished material feels less insistent. The sense of time often changes during this process. Moments feel less segmented. The boundary between past and present softens. This temporal smoothing is a hallmark of default mode network activity. Quiet does not force the brain into this state. It allows it. As long as external demand remains low, the network continues its work. When interruptions are minimal, efficiency increases. In the sections ahead, attention will move toward how quiet supports longer-term neural health and resilience, building on the large-scale coordination now underway. For now, the default mode network remains active in the background, gently organizing experience, maintaining internal continuity, and responding naturally to the steady, predictable absence of demand that quiet provides. As large-scale brain networks settle into coordination, another subtle change becomes noticeable. The way time is experienced begins to shift. Time perception is not fixed. It is shaped by how much information the brain is processing. When sensory input is dense and unpredictable, time feels compressed. Moments pass quickly. Pacing feels urgent. Quiet alters this experience by reducing event density. Neuroscientific research shows that the brain estimates time partly by counting changes. Each new sound, movement, or visual update becomes a marker. When markers are frequent, time appears to move faster. When markers are sparse, time stretches. Quiet creates sparsity. As sensory input thins, fewer markers are registered. The brain has less to count. Internal clocks lose urgency. This change does not require conscious awareness. It emerges automatically as input density drops. One result is a feeling that moments are lengthening. There is more space between events. The present feels wider. This widening supports regulation. When time feels rushed, physiological systems remain biased toward action. When time slows, readiness softens. The nervous system interprets the environment as safe enough to reduce speed. Quiet reinforces this interpretation by maintaining consistency. Predictable environments allow the brain to rely less on rapid updating. Without frequent surprises, the internal estimate of time stabilizes. Pacing becomes smoother. This smoothing affects both attention and emotion. When time pressure decreases, emotional responses lose sharpness. Thoughts become less insistent. Studies involving low stimulation environments show that participants report altered time perception even without changes in activity. The effect is driven by reduced sensory change, not by rest itself. Quiet also influences how future moments are anticipated. In high stimulation states, the brain projects forward rapidly, preparing for what comes next. In quieter states, projection slows. The future feels less immediate. The present becomes sufficient. This shift reduces cognitive strain. Time pressure is metabolically expensive. Maintaining rapid anticipation requires energy. Quiet conserves this energy by slowing internal pacing. As pacing slows, physiological rhythms follow. Breathing patterns become less variable. Heart rate stabilizes. Neural signaling aligns with slower cycles. These changes further reinforce the perception of time expanding. Importantly, this is not boredom. Boredom arises when the brain expects stimulation that does not arrive. Quiet differs because expectation itself has softened. The brain is no longer waiting. In environments where quiet is sustained, time perception becomes less fragmented. The day feels less chopped into segments. Continuity increases. This continuity supports integration. Experiences are processed as part of a flow rather than as isolated events. As time perception slows, the boundary between active thought and rest begins to blur. Attention drifts without effort. Focus loosens. This drift is not loss of control. It is a sign that urgency has decreased. Quiet supports this state by maintaining low demand across multiple systems at once. No single channel pulls attention forward. Balance holds. From an evolutionary perspective, slower time perception during low stimulation makes sense. Periods of safety allowed organisms to conserve energy. Speed was unnecessary. The nervous system retains this logic. When quiet persists, internal pacing adapts. The system learns that reduced speed is appropriate. This learning influences how quickly the brain can slow down in the future. Repeated exposure to quiet trains time perception to adjust more easily. As time continues to soften, readiness fades further. The need to monitor decreases. Internal processes gain more space. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how these temporal shifts support long-term neural resilience and recovery, extending the effects of quiet beyond the immediate moment. For now, time continues to lengthen gently, shaped not by effort or intention, but by the steady reduction of change and the calm predictability that quiet provides. As time perception softens and internal pacing slows, the effects of quiet begin to extend beyond the immediate moment. They begin to influence how the brain recovers over longer periods. Neural resilience refers to the brain's ability to absorb stress, adapt, and return to balance. It is not built through constant activation. It develops through cycles of demand followed by genuine reduction in input. Quiet supports this cycle. When stimulation decreases consistently, the brain learns that recovery states are accessible. This learning is physiological. Neural circuits adjust their thresholds based on experience. Research in stress physiology shows that systems exposed to regular low-demand periods recover more efficiently after activation. Hormone levels normalize more quickly. Baseline arousal lowers over time. Quiet contributes to this effect by offering predictable windows of reduced load. During these windows, neural pathways involved in stress response are allowed to disengage fully. They are not merely paused. They are reset. This reset improves future response. When the brain expects that quiet will arrive, it does not need to remain partially engaged after stimulation ends. Letting go becomes easier. This expectation shapes resilience. In environments where quiet is rare, stress systems remain partially active even during rest. The brain learns to stay ready. Recovery is incomplete. Quiet reverses this pattern gently. As exposure accumulates, neural systems recalibrate their baseline. The threshold for activation rises slightly. Everyday stimuli feel less intrusive. This does not blunt perception. It refines it. The brain becomes better at distinguishing between meaningful signals and background noise. This discrimination reduces unnecessary effort. Another aspect of resilience involves network flexibility. A resilient brain transitions smoothly between states. It can engage when needed and disengage when not. Quiet improves this flexibility by reinforcing disengagement pathways. The brain practices letting go. Over time, this practice becomes automatic. Studies involving long-term exposure to low-stimulation environments show improvements in attentional stability and emotional regulation. Participants demonstrate greater tolerance for uncertainty and reduced reactivity to minor stressors. These changes are subtle but cumulative. Quiet also supports structural maintenance. Neural connections that are repeatedly overused without recovery become less efficient. Periods of low demand allow micro-repairs to occur. This maintenance protects against burnout at the neural level. Importantly, resilience does not require dramatic interventions. It grows through consistency. Quiet does not need to be profound or prolonged to have an effect. Regular, predictable reductions in input are enough. As resilience improves, the brain's response to stimulation changes. Activation still occurs, but recovery follows more naturally. The system trusts its ability to settle. This trust reduces baseline vigilance. Over time, the difference becomes noticeable. The mind feels less strained. Transitions into rest require less adjustment. Quiet has shaped the system. As this shaping continues, the groundwork is laid for deeper restorative states. Sleep becomes more accessible. Rest feels more complete. In the sections ahead, attention will move toward how quiet interacts with sleep-related processes directly, building on the resilience now established. For now, the brain continues to adapt quietly, strengthening its capacity to recover, guided by the steady rhythm of reduced demand and the long-term stability that quiet provides. With neural resilience strengthening, the brain becomes more prepared for another shift, the gradual transition from wakefulness toward sleep. Sleep does not begin abruptly. It unfolds through a sequence of physiological changes that depend on reduced demand. Quiet supports this unfolding by stabilizing the conditions that make sleep possible. One of the earliest changes involves sensory gating. As the brain prepares for sleep, it begins to limit how much external information is allowed to pass through to higher processing centers. This filtering does not block all input. It reduces priority. Quiet assists this process by lowering the volume of incoming signals before gating fully engages. When sound levels remain low and predictable, auditory pathways reduce their sensitivity. Neural responses to noise become smaller. The brain no longer treats every sound as potentially relevant. Visual processing follows a similar pattern. As light remains dim and visual change slows, effort required to interpret the environment decreases. Eye movements become less frequent. Visual imagery softens. These changes create a perceptual narrowing that supports sleep onset. Another important shift involves the balance of neurotransmitters. Chemicals that support alertness decrease gradually, while those that support rest and inhibition gain influence. This balance change depends on time and consistency rather than force. Quiet helps maintain that consistency. Research on sleep initiation shows that environments with low sensory variation allow these chemical transitions to proceed with fewer interruptions. Each unexpected stimulus can briefly reverse progress. Steady quiet prevents this reversal. As the brain approaches sleep, communication between regions changes again. Large-scale coordination becomes slower and more synchronized. Rapid switching between networks becomes unnecessary. This slowing supports the emergence of sleep-related activity patterns. Importantly, the brain does not need to be empty for sleep to begin. It needs to be unburdened. Quiet reduces burden by limiting new material. What remains is allowed to settle. Another aspect of sleep transition involves the sense of agency. During wakefulness, the brain maintains a strong orientation toward control and response. As sleep approaches, this orientation weakens. Quiet accelerates this weakening by removing cues that demand action. Without frequent prompts to respond, the brain relinquishes its grip on readiness. Intentional thought becomes less dominant. Passive processing takes over. This shift often feels like drifting. Drifting is not a loss of control. It is a biological handoff from active regulation to automated rhythms. Quiet supports this handoff by staying predictable. Predictability allows the brain to trust that disengagement is safe. there is nothing to miss, nothing to respond to. As trust increases, sleep-related systems become more influential. Another physiological marker of this transition is reduced muscle tone. Small postural adjustments decrease. The body requires less monitoring. Quiet environments are associated with earlier and more complete reductions in muscle activity during sleep onset. This further lowers sensory feedback, reinforcing the transition. Breathing patterns also change. Respiration becomes slower and more regular. This rhythm feeds back into the nervous system, supporting deeper relaxation. Quiet does not instruct breathing to slow, it allows it. As multiple systems converge toward lower activity, the boundary between wakefulness and sleep becomes porous. Moments blur, awareness softens. This is not yet deep sleep, it is preparation. Quiet plays a critical role here by maintaining low demand across time. Sleep onset is fragile. Consistency matters. Sudden changes can delay the process. Steady quiet protects it. Over repeated nights, the brain learns to associate quiet with safe disengagement. Sleep onset becomes smoother. Resistance decreases. This learning persists beyond the immediate moment. It reshapes expectations. As a result, the presence of quiet begins to signal readiness automatically. The transition requires less effort. In the sections ahead, attention will move deeper into how quiet supports the stages of sleep themselves, influencing depth, continuity, and restoration once sleep has begun. For now, the brain continues its gentle shift, moving from resilience into readiness, guided by the steady absence of demand and the quiet conditions that allow sleep to approach without urgency or force. Once sleep begins, the role of quiet does not end. It changes. Quiet becomes a stabilizing force that supports how deeply sleep is able to unfold. Not by eliminating all sound, but by preventing unnecessary disruption. Sleep occurs in stages, each with its own patterns of neural activity. Some stages are lighter, closer to wakefulness. Others are deeper, marked by slower and more synchronized brain rhythms. The depth reached during sleep depends partly on how often these rhythms are interrupted. Quiet helps protect continuity. Research into sleep architecture shows that sudden sensory input can fragment sleep without fully waking the individual. These micro-arousals are brief and often unnoticed, but they prevent the brain from remaining in deeper restorative states. Quiet reduces their frequency. When auditory input remains low and predictable, the brain is less likely to shift toward vigilance. Sleep stages last longer. Transitions become smoother. This is particularly important for the deeper phases of sleep, when neural activity slows and large populations of neurons fire in coordinated waves. These waves support physical repair, immune regulation, and memory consolidation. Quiet helps maintain the conditions needed for these patterns to persist. Another factor influencing sleep depth is the brain's sense of environmental safety. Even during sleep, the nervous system continues to monitor for threat at a basic level. This monitoring is automatic. Quiet reduces perceived threat by minimizing sudden change. Predictable soundscapes allow the brain to relax its guard. Without frequent surprises, vigilance decreases even further. Sleep deepens. Studies involving controlled sleep environments consistently show that lower background noise is associated with increased time spent in deeper sleep stages. The effect is strongest when noise levels are not only low, but stable. Stability matters more than absolute silence. Quiet also affects how the brain responds when disturbances do occur. In calmer environments, the brain is less reactive. Brief sounds are less likely to trigger full arousal. This resilience allows sleep to resume quickly. Depth of sleep is cumulative. Short disruptions add up. Quiet prevents accumulation by reducing how often the system needs to reorient. Another way quiet supports depth involves internal processing. During deeper sleep, the brain reduces responsiveness to external input, while increasing internal coordination. This balance requires low competition. Quiet minimizes competition. When fewer sensory signals attempt to enter awareness, internal rhythms dominate more fully. The brain remains oriented inward. This inward orientation supports cellular repair processes that are most active during deep sleep. Growth-related signaling increases. Inflammatory activity decreases. Tissues throughout the body benefit. Quiet does not create these processes. It allows them to continue uninterrupted. Depth of sleep also influences how refreshed the body feels afterward. Longer periods of deep sleep are associated with improved physical recovery and emotional stability the following day. Quiet contributes to this outcome indirectly, but consistently. Importantly, deep sleep is not something that can be forced. It emerges when conditions allow. Quiet is one of those conditions. Over time, repeated nights with adequate quiet shape the brain's expectations. Sleep depth becomes easier to reach. The system learns that it can remain disengaged safely. This learning reduces nighttime vigilance further. In contrast, environments with frequent sensory interruption train the brain to remain partially alert. Sleep remains lighter. Recovery is incomplete. Quiet reverses this pattern gently. As sleep deepens, external awareness fades. Internal rhythms take precedence. The brain settles into its slowest and most restorative modes. This settling is not dramatic. It is gradual, often unnoticed, but its effects are substantial. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how quiet influences the continuity of sleep across the night, helping maintain restoration from beginning to end. For now, sleep continues its descent, supported by steady quiet that protects depth, minimizes interruption, and allows the brain to remain where healing happens most fully. Depth alone is not enough for restoration. Continuity matters just as much. Sleep heals most effectively when it is allowed to unfold without repeated interruption. Quiet plays a central role in protecting that continuity across the night. Even when a person remains asleep, the brain continues to sample the environment. This background monitoring is automatic and protective. It allows rapid response if conditions suddenly change. However, when changes are frequent, monitoring becomes intrusive. Small sounds, shifting noise patterns, or unpredictable disturbances can fragment sleep without causing full awakening. The sleeper may not remember these moments, but the brain does. Each interruption pulls neural activity toward lighter stages, breaking the natural flow of sleep cycles. Quiet reduces how often this happens. Research on sleep continuity shows that stable, low-variation environments are associated with fewer micro-arousals. Sleep cycles progress with less disruption. The brain spends longer periods in restorative states. Continuity allows sleep stages to complete their functions. Each cycle builds on the last. Early stages prepare the system. Deeper stages restore tissue and integrate memory. Later stages refine emotional balance and cognitive flexibility. When continuity is broken repeatedly, these processes are shortened or delayed. Quiet protects the sequence. One reason quiet is so effective is that the brain responds more to change than to presence. A constant, low-level sound can become background. Sudden variation cannot. Quiet minimizes variation. Predictable environments allow the brain to relax its sampling frequency. Monitoring continues, but with lower sensitivity. Sleep becomes less fragile. This fragility is often mistaken for light sleep or poor sleep quality. In reality, it reflects environmental instability. Quiet addresses this at the source. Another factor influencing continuity is the brain's expectation of interruption. If disturbances are common, vigilance remains elevated even during sleep. The system prepares for waking before it is needed. Quiet reshapes this expectation. Over repeated nights, the brain learns that the environment remains stable. Anticipatory vigilance decreases. Sleep becomes smoother. This learning is gradual but durable. Continuity also affects how easily the brain returns to sleep after natural awakenings. Brief awakenings are normal. They occur between cycles and often go unnoticed. In quiet environments, these awakenings pass quickly. The brain re-enters sleep without effort. In noisy or variable environments, re-entry is harder. Monitoring systems reactivate. Sleep latency increases. Quiet shortens these transitions. Another aspect of continuity involves the body's internal rhythms. Hormone release, temperature regulation, and autonomic balance all follow circadian patterns. Frequent interruption disrupts these rhythms. Quiet allows them to proceed smoothly. Temperature drops that support deep sleep are maintained. Hormonal pulses align properly. Physiological systems remain synchronized. This synchronization supports overall recovery. Importantly, continuity does not require total silence. It requires stability. Quiet can include soft, unchanging background sounds that remain predictable. What matters is the absence of surprise. The brain adapts to what it can anticipate. This adaptability is protective. When quiet is sustained, sleep becomes less effortful across the entire night. The system does not need to restart repeatedly. Energy is conserved. By morning, the cumulative effect becomes apparent. Rest feels deeper. Recovery feels more complete. These benefits are not always dramatic. Often, they appear as subtle improvements. Less grogginess, greater emotional balance, improved clarity. Quiet has worked quietly. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how these uninterrupted patterns influence the brain's ability to repair itself at the cellular level, extending the effects of quiet beyond sleep and into long-term health. For now, sleep continues its steady course, supported by quiet that preserves flow, protects rhythm, and allows restoration to unfold without interruption from beginning to end. Beneath the experience of sleep, quieter processes continue their work. These processes operate at a scale too small to feel, yet they shape how rested the brain and body become. Cellular repair is not dramatic. It is methodical. It depends on time, energy availability, and the absence of unnecessary disturbance. Quiet supports all three. Every cell in the nervous system carries out routine maintenance. Proteins are folded and replaced. Damaged components are broken down. Energy systems are recalibrated. These processes occur constantly, but their efficiency varies. When stimulation remains high, cellular systems compete with signaling demands. Resources are diverted toward immediate response. Maintenance continues, but at a reduced pace. Quiet shifts this balance. As external demand drops and sleep deepens, energy that was previously allocated to monitoring and reaction becomes available for repair. Cells take advantage of this window. One important aspect of cellular repair involves the management of metabolic byproducts. Neural activity produces waste substances that must be cleared to maintain efficiency. When clearance is delayed, signaling becomes less precise. During quiet states, especially deep and continuous sleep, clearance improves. Fluid movement between cells increases. Waste products are transported away more effectively. This process does not require awareness. It depends on low interference. Quiet protects the conditions that allow it to proceed. Another aspect of repair involves inflammation regulation. Daily stress and stimulation can elevate inflammatory signaling, even in the absence of illness. When this signaling remains elevated, recovery slows. Quiet environments are associated with reductions in stress-related inflammatory markers. As stimulation decreases, signaling pathways recalibrate. Repair mechanisms regain balance. Cellular repair also includes synaptic maintenance. Connections between neurons are constantly adjusted. Some are strengthened. Others are weakened or removed. This pruning is essential for efficiency. During periods of uninterrupted quiet and sleep, the brain evaluates which connections remain useful. Unnecessary activity is reduced. Important pathways are preserved. This refinement supports clearer signaling and reduced noise in neural networks. Quiet does not direct this process. It allows it. Another layer of cellular repair involves energy production. Cells rely on specialized structures to generate energy efficiently. Under prolonged demand, these structures become strained. Low demand periods allow recalibration. Quiet contributes by reducing the frequency of high energy signaling. Cells shift into a maintenance-oriented mode. Efficiency improves. These processes accumulate over time. One night of good conditions helps. Repeated nights reshape baseline function. Importantly, cellular repair depends on continuity. Frequent interruption forces systems to restart repeatedly. Efficiency drops. Quiet preserves continuity. Stable conditions allow repair cycles to complete. Incomplete processes are avoided. The system finishes what it begins. This completion is essential for recovery that lasts beyond the immediate moment. Cellular repair also influences how resilient the nervous system becomes over time. Well-maintained cells respond more flexibly to future demand. Thresholds normalize. Overreaction becomes less likely. Quiet supports this resilience indirectly but consistently. In environments where quiet is rare, repair windows are shortened. Maintenance is postponed. Over time, strain accumulates. Quiet reverses this pattern by restoring opportunity. As repair continues, the effects ripple outward. Neural signaling becomes smoother. Emotional regulation stabilizes. Cognitive effort decreases. The brain does not announce these changes. They appear as ease. Ease in waking. Ease in attention. Ease in response. Cellular repair is one of the quietest forms of healing. It does not produce sensation. It produces capacity. Capacity to focus. Capacity to adapt. Capacity to rest again. As this repair completes its cycles, the foundation for long-term neural health strengthens. The system becomes less brittle, more forgiving. In the sections ahead, attention will move outward once more, exploring how quiet shapes daily functioning after sleep has ended, carrying its effects forward into waking life. For now, repair continues invisibly, supported by the steady absence of interruption and the calm conditions that quiet sustains, allowing the smallest systems to restore themselves fully and without urgency. Morning does not begin at the moment the eyes open. It begins earlier, as the brain prepares to carry the effects of rest forward. Quiet influences this handoff from sleep into waking life more than is often noticed. Not by extending sleep, but by shaping how smoothly the system transitions. When sleep has been continuous and low in disturbance, the brain completes more of its overnight processes. Repair cycles finish. Integration stabilizes. By the time waking approaches, fewer systems are left mid-task. Quiet supports this completion by preserving continuity through the night. As wakefulness returns, neural activity increases gradually. Sensory systems re-engage. Attention begins to orient outward. The quality of this re-engagement depends on how abruptly it occurs. In quieter environments, the shift is softer. There is less contrast between sleep and wake. The nervous system does not need to leap into readiness. This matters. Sudden sensory input upon waking can trigger a stress response before orientation is complete. Heart rate rises quickly. Attention narrows. The brain prioritizes response over reflection. Quiet reduces the likelihood of this reaction. When sound, light, and movement increase gently, the brain has time to reassemble its waking networks without urgency. Coordination established during sleep carries forward. This continuity affects how alertness feels. Alertness, shaped by quiet, tends to be steady rather than sharp. The mind feels present without being pressured. Attention is available without being pulled. This is not sluggishness, it is balance. Research on sleep inertia shows that abrupt transitions impair cognitive performance temporarily. Decision-making slows. Emotional reactivity increases. Quiet reduces sleep inertia by allowing the brain to complete its transition internally before external demands arrive. Another aspect of waking integration involves memory accessibility. During sleep, information is reorganized and stored. Upon waking, this information becomes available again. When the transition is gentle, access improves. Thoughts feel clearer. Recall is smoother. Quiet supports this by preventing abrupt network switching. Instead of rapidly toggling from internal to external modes, the brain blends them. Internal organization remains accessible even as sensory processing increases. This blending contributes to the feeling of mental clarity. Emotional tone is also influenced by waking conditions. When awakening is abrupt, emotional systems may re-engage defensively. Minor stressors feel larger. Quiet waking allows emotional regulation to persist into the day. Baseline arousal remains lower. Responses are measured. This effect is often attributed to mood, but it is physiological. The nervous system has not been startled into action. Quiet also influences physical sensations upon waking. Muscle tension tends to be lower. Breathing patterns remain regulated. These bodily signals feed back into the brain, reinforcing calm alertness. Integration continues beyond the first moments of wakefulness. Throughout the early part of the day, the brain relies on the state established overnight. If repair and regulation were completed, less effort is required to maintain balance. Quiet contributes to this efficiency indirectly but reliably. When the brain has not been forced to restart repeatedly during the night, it begins the day with more reserve. Energy is not immediately consumed by compensation. This reserve affects attention span, emotional tolerance, and adaptability. Quiet mornings preserve this reserve. In contrast, environments that introduce high stimulation immediately can erase overnight gains. The brain shifts rapidly into response mode. Integration is interrupted. Quiet protects what sleep has built. Importantly, this does not require complete silence after waking. It requires pacing. Gradual increases in stimulation allow systems to align. Predictable input reassures the nervous system. The brain recognizes that engagement can occur without threat. Over time, repeated exposure to quiet transitions reshapes expectations. The system learns that waking does not require urgency. This learning carries into daily rhythms. Tasks feel less compressed. Time pressure softens. Attention becomes more flexible. Quiet has extended its influence beyond sleep. As the day unfolds, the effects may not be dramatic. They appear as subtle ease, fewer sharp edges, greater tolerance. These are signs of integration. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how quiet experience during the day reinforces these benefits, creating a continuous loop between rest and waking life. For now, the transition completes itself gently, as the brain carries the work of the night into the day, supported by quiet that does not end at waking, but continues as a steady undercurrent of balance and ease. Quiet does not belong only to the night. Its effects deepen when it appears in small, consistent ways throughout the day. The nervous system is constantly recalibrating. It adjusts its expectations based on recent experience. What happens during waking hours influences how easily the system can settle later. Daytime quiet contributes to this calibration. Calibration refers to how sensitive the nervous system becomes to stimulation. When exposure to noise, movement, and information is continuous, sensitivity increases. Small changes trigger larger responses. the system stays closer to its activation threshold. Quiet lowers this sensitivity over time. When periods of reduced input appear during the day, the nervous system receives confirmation that high vigilance is not always required. This confirmation accumulates. Thresholds rise slightly. Responses soften. Importantly, these periods do not need to be long. They need to be consistent. Brief intervals without active input allow the system to reset between demands. This prevents activation from stacking. Without these intervals, stimulation compounds. The nervous system carries residual activation from one task into the next. Recovery is postponed. Quiet interrupts this accumulation. Research on stress regulation shows that regular low-demand intervals reduce baseline arousal more effectively than occasional extended rest. The system benefits from rhythm. Quiet provides that rhythm. Another aspect of daytime quiet involves attentional recovery. Attention is a limited resource. Sustained focus depletes it. Quiet restores it. When external input decreases, attentional systems disengage temporarily. This disengagement allows resources to replenish. Focus returns with less effort. This recovery supports cognitive flexibility. The brain becomes better at shifting between tasks without strain. Quiet also affects emotional tone during the day. Lower baseline arousal reduces emotional amplification. Reactions feel proportional rather than exaggerated. This is not emotional suppression. It is regulation. The nervous system remains responsive but not reactive. Daytime quiet also shapes how the brain interprets environmental cues. When stimulation is constant, the brain learns to treat all input as equally important. Filtering becomes less precise. Quiet sharpens filtering. By experiencing low input conditions regularly, the brain practices distinguishing signal from noise. Meaningful input stands out more clearly. Background activity fades. This improves efficiency. Importantly, quiet during the day does not require withdrawal or isolation. It can occur in the presence of others. It can occur during simple activities. What matters is reduced demand. Quiet moments may involve steady visual fields, predictable soundscapes, or the absence of informational input. They are defined by simplicity. The nervous system responds to this simplicity by recalibrating its expectations. Over time, this recalibration influences how easily the system transitions between states. Engagement becomes cleaner. Disengagement becomes faster. This flexibility supports resilience. A resilient system does not avoid activation. It recovers from it. Quiet provides the recovery space. As daytime quiet becomes familiar, its effects extend into the evening. The system arrives at night with less residual activation. Less unwinding is required. Sleep onset becomes smoother. This creates a reinforcing loop. Quiet during the day supports sleep at night. Restful sleep supports regulation during the day. The nervous system learns this pattern. Importantly, the benefits of daytime quiet are cumulative. They do not rely on perfect conditions. Small reductions in demand matter. Over weeks and months, baseline arousal shifts. The system becomes less brittle, more forgiving. This shift is often perceived as calm, but it is better described as capacity. Capacity to respond. capacity to adapt, capacity to rest again. Quiet has shaped the system. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how this calibrated nervous system experiences silence differently, and how quiet eventually becomes a familiar state rather than an effort. For now, calibration continues gently as the nervous system learns from repeated experiences of reduced demand, adjusting its sensitivity and restoring balance through quiet that appears not as an escape, but as a steady part of daily life. At first, quiet can feel noticeable. It stands out against the usual background of activity. But as the nervous system becomes calibrated, quiet changes its character. It stops feeling like an absence and begins to feel like a baseline. This shift is subtle yet significant. Early on, reduced stimulation draws attention to itself. The mind notices the drop in input. Internal activity may feel louder by contrast. This is temporary, as quiet becomes familiar. The brain no longer flags it as unusual. Monitoring decreases further. The system no longer checks for what is missing. From a neurological perspective, this marks a transition from novelty to normalcy. The brain is highly sensitive to change. When conditions shift away from constant stimulation, that change is registered. Over time, as the new conditions repeat, registration fades. Quiet becomes expected. Expectation alters response. When the brain expects quiet, it does not scan for stimulation. It does not brace for interruption. It settles more fully. This settling changes how silence is experienced. Silence no longer feels like a gap that needs to be filled. It feels like space that can hold things gently. Thoughts that arise in this space behave differently. They move more slowly. They resolve more easily. This is not because the mind is controlled. It is because it is no longer crowded. Emotional signals also shift in quality. Without constant stimulation amplifying them, emotions lose their edge. They remain present but less insistent. The nervous system has learned that it does not need to react to every internal fluctuation. This learning reduces self-monitoring. Self-monitoring is metabolically expensive. It involves checking, assessing, and adjusting continuously. Quiet reduces the need for this activity. As a result, the system experiences a form of internal trust. Trust that nothing urgent is being missed. Trust that disengagement is safe. This trust allows deeper forms of rest to appear even during wakefulness. Moments of still awareness become comfortable. The urge to distract diminishes. Importantly, this does not lead to disengagement from life. It leads to selective engagement. When quiet is familiar, stimulation becomes optional rather than necessary. The brain can choose when to engage fully and when to remain at ease. This choice is not conscious. It is a property of regulation. Another change that occurs as quiet becomes baseline involves perception of effort. Tasks feel lighter, not because they are easier, but because the nervous system is not already taxed. Effort is contextual. When baseline arousal is high, every task requires more energy. When baseline arousal is lower, the same task fits more comfortably within capacity. Quiet lowers the baseline. This shift is often interpreted as calm, but it is better understood as availability. The system has room. Availability affects creativity, problem-solving, and emotional tolerance. Ideas emerge without force. Setbacks feel manageable. Quiet has widened the internal margin. At this stage, silence no longer provokes restlessness. It supports orientation. The brain does not rush to fill it. It uses it. This is why long-term exposure to quiet environments is associated with improved well-being. The system has adapted to low demand. Importantly, this adaptation does not require withdrawal from stimulation entirely. It requires balance. Quiet needs to appear often enough to be learned. When it does, the nervous system no longer treats it as a deviation. It treats it as home. From this position, stimulation can be entered and exited cleanly. Activation does not linger. Recovery is efficient. This efficiency changes how the world feels. Noise becomes noticeable sooner. Overload is recognized earlier. Boundaries form naturally. Quiet has trained discernment. As this discernment strengthens, the system no longer oscillates between overload and collapse. It operates within a narrower, steadier range. This steadiness supports long-term health. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how this familiar quiet reshapes identity-level experience, influencing how the brain relates to itself over time. For now, quiet continues its quietest work. It stops announcing itself. It simply remains, no longer empty, no longer remarkable, but fully present as the stable ground beneath thought, emotion, and rest. As quiet becomes familiar, its influence moves even deeper. It begins to affect how the brain maintains a sense of self. The sense of self is not a single thought or identity. It is a continuous process, a background function that integrates memory, emotion, body signals, and expectation into a stable reference point. This process depends on consistency. When stimulation is constant and unpredictable, the brain is repeatedly pulled outward, attention fragments. Internal reference weakens. Quiet restores continuity. In low-demand environments, the brain no longer needs to anchor itself to external change. It can maintain orientation internally. This supports a steadier sense of presence. Presence here does not mean awareness of the moment. It means coherence across moments. Neuroscientific research suggests that the systems responsible for self-referential processing operate most efficiently when external demands are reduced. These systems integrate past experience with current state, maintaining continuity over time. Quiet allows this integration to proceed without interruption. As a result, the sense of self feels less reactive. Not flattened, not diminished, simply less pulled. This is often experienced as groundedness. Groundedness does not arise from effort. It arises when the brain is not constantly adjusting to new input. Quiet reduces the need for adjustment. Another important aspect of self-processing involves bodily signals. The brain constantly interprets information from within the body. Heartbeat, breathing, muscle tone, and internal chemistry all contribute to how the self is experienced. When stimulation is high, these signals are often overridden by external demands. The brain prioritizes outward focus. Quiet reverses this priority. Internal signals become clearer. The body's state is registered more accurately. This improves regulation. Improved regulation strengthens self-coherence. The brain no longer needs to infer internal state from stress or urgency. It receives direct information. This clarity reduces internal conflict. Self-experience becomes simpler, not because complexity disappears, but because competing signals are reduced. Quiet also influences narrative identity. Narratives form when the brain links events into meaning. Under high stimulation, these narratives are fragmented. Quiet allows narrative repair. During low demand periods, the brain revisits experiences and integrates them into broader context. Events are placed into perspective. Meaning stabilizes. This does not require conscious reflection. It occurs automatically. As narratives stabilize, the sense of self becomes less defensive. There is less need to justify, explain, or react. This defensiveness is metabolically expensive. Quiet reduces it. Over time, repeated exposure to quiet shapes how the brain expects to experience itself. The baseline shifts. Selfhood becomes less effortful. This shift is often mistaken for passivity. In reality, it reflects efficiency. A self that does not need constant reinforcement is more resilient. Another subtle effect of quiet on self-experience involves temporal continuity. The brain maintains identity by linking past, present, and future. High stimulation compresses this link. The present dominates. The future feels urgent. Quiet expands it. The brain has room to place the present within a longer arc. Urgency decreases. Perspective returns. This perspective supports emotional stability. Emotions are less likely to feel defining. They are experienced as states rather than identities. Quiet has softened fusion. As this process deepens, the brain becomes less preoccupied with monitoring itself. Self-consciousness decreases. Awareness becomes less reflexive. This does not mean disengagement. It means trust. Trust that internal states can arise and pass without constant intervention. Quiet has created this trust gradually. Importantly, these changes do not require withdrawal from life or reduction in engagement. They improve engagement by reducing internal noise. The self becomes a stable platform rather than a project. This stability supports adaptability. A coherent sense of self can move through stimulation without losing balance. It can enter activity and return to quiet without strain. Quiet has trained this movement. In the sections ahead, attention will turn toward how this stabilized self interacts with the world more fluidly, allowing engagement without overload and rest without resistance. For now, the brain continues to maintain its quiet center, not by holding still, but by remaining oriented inward, supported by familiar quiet that no longer feels like absence, but like continuity itself. Once the sense of self stabilizes, the relationship between quiet and activity changes. Engagement no longer feels like a switch being thrown. It feels like a smooth extension. Effortless engagement does not mean low effort in action. It means reduced effort in preparation. When the nervous system is calibrated and the sense of self is coherent, the brain does not need to brace before engaging with the world. It can respond directly. Quiet supports this by maintaining a stable internal baseline. In overstimulated states, engagement requires mobilization. The brain gathers resources heightens alertness, and narrows focus abruptly. This transition is costly. Quiet reduces the cost. When baseline arousal is lower and regulation is intact, engagement begins from readiness rather than urgency. Attention moves outward without resistance. Action follows without friction. This is why calm systems often appear more capable. They are not doing more. They are spending less energy getting started. Quiet contributes to this capability by preserving internal alignment. Alignment means that emotional, cognitive, and physiological systems are not pulling in different directions. They are synchronized. When alignment holds, engagement becomes efficient. Tasks are approached one at a time rather than all at once. Attention remains stable without being rigid. Effort feels proportional. Quiet enables this proportionality. Another important aspect of effortless engagement involves recovery after action. In high arousal states, engagement leaves residue. Activation lingers after tasks end. Quiet shortens this tail. When engagement begins from a regulated baseline, the system can disengage cleanly. There is less need to unwind. Recovery is immediate. This quick recovery supports sustained functioning across the day. Rather than cycling between intense effort and exhaustion, the system operates within a narrower range. Energy is conserved. Quiet is central to this conservation. It allows the nervous system to return to baseline repeatedly without resistance. Importantly, effortless engagement does not require constant quiet. It requires familiarity with quiet. When quiet is known and accessible, engagement does not feel like a departure from safety. The system trusts that it can return. This trust reduces anticipatory tension. Anticipatory tension is the energy spent worrying about future effort. Quiet reduces this by stabilizing expectations. The brain no longer prepares for depletion. It prepares for movement with return. This expectation shapes experience. Work feels lighter. Conversation feels less draining. Decision-making feels clearer. Quiet has changed the starting point. Another subtle shift occurs in how attention is allocated. In regulated states, attention is less scattered. It does not need to guard against overload. Quiet sharpens selectivity. The brain can choose where to place attention rather than being pulled automatically. Distractions lose force. This selectivity improves performance without increasing strain. Effortless engagement also affects emotional tone during action. Emotions are present, but they do not dominate. Frustration passes quickly. Interest sustains. Quiet has reduced emotional amplification. This reduction does not flatten experience. It stabilizes it. Engagement becomes immersive rather than pressured. In immersive states, the brain is fully involved without being overstimulated. Time may feel altered. Attention flows. Quiet makes these states easier to enter and exit. Because baseline arousal is lower, the contrast between rest and activity is smaller. Transitions are smoother. This smoothness is often described as balance, but it is better understood as efficiency. The system wastes less energy shifting gears. Over time, this efficiency compounds. Daily life requires less recovery. Evening unwinding becomes easier. sleep arrives with less resistance. Quiet has woven itself into the rhythm of engagement. Importantly, effortless engagement is not passivity. It supports decisive action. When the brain is not preoccupied with internal regulation, it can focus outward fully. Decisions are made with clarity rather than urgency. Quiet has removed internal interference. This removal allows skill, knowledge, and intuition to operate without obstruction. As a result, engagement feels more authentic. Action aligns with intention. Response matches context. Quiet has created space for this alignment. In the final sections ahead, attention will turn toward how this effortless engagement completes the cycle between quiet and activity, and how the two reinforce each other over time rather than competing. For now, engagement continues naturally, not forced, not strained, arising from a stable internal ground that quiet has patiently built, allowing movement through the world with ease, presence, and the confidence of knowing that rest remains close at hand. Over time, quiet and engagement stop feeling like opposites. They begin to form a cycle. This cycle is not imposed. It emerges naturally when the nervous system learns that both states are safe. Quiet prepares the system for engagement. Engagement, when experienced without overload, makes returning to quiet easier. Each reinforces the other. In regulated systems, activity no longer consumes all available capacity. Some reserve remains. That reserve allows disengagement without resistance. Quiet benefits from this reserve. When the system is not depleted, quiet does not feel like collapse. It feels like continuation. This distinction matters. Collapse requires recovery. Continuation supports rhythm. Quiet experienced as continuation maintains baseline regulation rather than repairing damage. As this pattern repeats, the brain updates its internal model of demand and rest. It no longer treats engagement as something that must be survived. It no longer treats quiet as something that must be earned. Both become expected. Expectation shapes response. When the brain expects that engagement will end cleanly, it does not escalate unnecessarily. When it expects that quiet will return, it does not cling to stimulation. This expectation reduces internal tension. Another effect of this cycle is improved prediction accuracy. The brain becomes better at estimating how much energy tasks require. Overcommitment decreases. This improves pacing. Pacing is the ability to distribute effort across time without depletion. Quiet is essential to pacing because it provides reference points. Without quiet, effort expands to fill all available space. With quiet, effort is contained. Contained effort preserves flexibility. Flexibility allows the system to respond to unexpected demands without destabilization. Quiet supports this by maintaining a stable baseline to return to. Over repeated cycles, the nervous system learns that regulation is reliable. This learning is deeply protective. Stress responses become more proportional. Recovery becomes faster. Baseline arousal decreases. Importantly, this cycle does not require constant awareness. It operates automatically. The brain tracks outcomes. When engagement followed by quiet leads to balance, the pattern is reinforced. When overstimulation leads to strain, the system remembers. Quiet increases the likelihood of positive reinforcement. As a result, the nervous system begins to favor lower demand states when possible, not through avoidance, but through efficiency. Efficiency chooses what is sufficient. This choice reduces unnecessary complexity. Daily life becomes less dense, not because tasks disappear, but because the system no longer treats everything as urgent. Quiet has reshaped prioritization. Another consequence of this cycle is reduced fear of stillness. When quiet consistently leads to stability rather than discomfort, the brain stops associating it with risk. Stillness becomes approachable. This matters for long-term regulation. Systems that fear stillness seek constant input. Systems that trust stillness can rest. Quiet has built that trust gradually. As trust grows, the cycle strengthens. Engagement begins from calm. Quiet receives a system that is not depleted. This reciprocity deepens regulation. Eventually, quiet no longer needs to be sought intentionally. It appears spontaneously between moments. Pauses lengthen. Transitions soften. The nervous system has internalized the rhythm. This rhythm supports sustainable functioning across days, weeks, and years. Burnout becomes less likely. Overreaction diminishes. Recovery remains accessible. Quiet has moved from a condition to a pattern. In the final section ahead, attention will turn toward how this pattern shapes long-term well-being, allowing quiet to remain present even in active lives, not as retreat, but as foundation. For now, the cycle continues gently. Engagement arises, quiet follows, both held within a stable system that no longer needs to push or pull, but moves fluidly between states, supported by the quiet knowledge that balance is not fragile, and rest does not disappear when life resumes. At a certain point, quiet stops being something that is entered. It becomes something that underlies experience. This shift marks a final maturation in how the nervous system relates to stillness. When quiet is new, it is often treated as a destination, something that must be found, protected, or returned to, a place away from activity. Over time, this framing changes. As regulation stabilizes and cycles reinforce themselves, quiet no longer depends on circumstances. It becomes a baseline condition that activity rises from and settles back into. This distinction is important. A destination can be lost. A foundation remains. Quiet as a foundation means that stimulation no longer determines internal state. It influences it, but does not override it. The nervous system maintains orientation even as the environment changes. This orientation is not rigid. It is flexible. Flexibility allows quiet to coexist with movement, sound, and interaction without disappearing. In this state, quiet does not require isolation. It does not demand withdrawal. It persists in the background, supporting engagement rather than competing with it. Neuroscientifically, this reflects stable baseline regulation. Arousal systems remain responsive but not dominant. Regulatory networks maintain influence even during activity. The brain no longer oscillates between extremes. Instead, it operates within a narrower, steadier range. This steadiness supports long-term well-being. Chronic stress often arises not from single events, but from repeated loss of baseline. The nervous system is pushed upward and struggles to return. Quiet as a foundation prevents this drift. Return becomes automatic. When challenges arise, activation increases appropriately. When they pass, deactivation follows naturally. No effort is required to come back. This capacity reshapes how difficulty is experienced. Stressors feel contained rather than overwhelming. They register, but they do not dominate. Quiet holds the perimeter. Another important aspect of quiet as foundation involves identity. When internal state remains stable across contexts, the sense of self becomes less conditional. Well-being no longer depends on circumstances aligning perfectly. Regulation is carried internally. This independence reduces vulnerability. Life does not need to slow down for quiet to exist. Quiet remains present even as life moves. This presence is subtle. It is felt as space around experience. Room to respond, room to pause. This room supports choice. Choice over reaction. Choice over pacing. Choice over engagement. Quiet has become agency. Importantly, this agency is not control. It is capacity. Capacity to allow experience without being overtaken by it. Another consequence of this shift is reduced anticipation of exhaustion. When quiet is foundational, the brain does not expect depletion with every effort. This expectation changes behavior. Tasks are approached with less guarding. Engagement is cleaner. Recovery is trusted. Quiet has reshaped prediction. Prediction governs how the brain allocates energy. When recovery is expected, less energy is spent preparing for collapse. Energy is conserved. This conservation supports creativity, learning, and resilience. The system has room to explore. Quiet as a foundation also influences how the brain relates to uncertainty. Uncertainty no longer triggers immediate escalation. There is space to wait. Waiting does not feel tense. It feels neutral. This neutrality is a sign of regulation. The nervous system has learned that it does not need to resolve everything immediately. Quiet supports patience. Patience here is not restraint. It is trust in process. Trust that clarity will emerge without force. As this trust deepens, internal pressure continues to decrease. The system stops pushing itself. Effort becomes optional rather than compulsory. Quiet has removed the internal deadline. Over time, this affects health at every level. Physiological systems operate with less strain. Mental systems carry less load. Emotional systems remain balanced. None of this is dramatic. It unfolds quietly. The brain does not mark the moment when quiet becomes foundational. It simply begins to behave as though stability is expected. This expectation changes everything. In the final section ahead, attention will turn toward closing the loop gently, reflecting on quiet not as a tool or technique, but as an inherent capacity the brain already possesses, waiting only for the conditions that allow it to remain. For now, quiet holds steady, not as absence, not as retreat, but as the underlying ground from which experience unfolds, unchanged by motion, unshaken by demand, present before activity begins and still present when it ends. Quiet is not something the brain has to learn. It is something the brain remembers. Beneath layers of stimulation, adaptation, and habit, the nervous system already contains the ability to settle. This ability does not disappear. It waits. Throughout this exploration, quiet has appeared not as a technique, but as a condition that allows natural processes to resume. Nothing new was added. Nothing needed to be installed. Quiet revealed what was already present. From a biological perspective, this makes sense. The human nervous system evolved in environments where periods of low stimulation were common. Nightfall reduced input. Stillness followed activity. Recovery was woven into daily rhythm. Modern life interrupts this rhythm, but it does not erase it. The capacity for quiet remains embedded in neural circuitry. It activates automatically when conditions permit. This is why quiet does not need instruction. The brain does not need to be told how to rest. It needs permission. Permission arrives through reduced demand. When sound softens, when change slows, when novelty decreases, the nervous system recognizes familiar territory. It responds by downshifting. This response is not learned through effort. It is triggered through recognition. Recognition that nothing is required. This is an important distinction. Effort implies control. Quiet relies on release. The brain is highly skilled at maintaining balance when not overwhelmed. Quiet removes overwhelm. As quiet becomes accessible again, internal systems align without guidance. Regulation follows simplicity. This alignment explains why quiet often feels relieving rather than instructive. It does not add direction. It removes interference. Another way to understand quiet is as bandwidth. When external demand consumes most of the brain's capacity, internal processes compete for space. Quiet frees bandwidth. With bandwidth available, integration resumes, repair completes, coordination stabilizes. These processes do not announce themselves. They function best when unnoticed. Quiet respects this. Importantly, quiet does not require perfection. It does not demand uninterrupted silence or ideal conditions. It responds to reduction, not elimination. Even partial quiet invites response. This makes quiet resilient. It can exist in imperfect environments. It can coexist with gentle sound, with motion, with presence. What matters is that demand has softened enough for recognition to occur. Once recognized, the nervous system responds consistently. This response grows stronger with repetition. Each experience of quiet reinforces the brain's expectation that settling is safe. Over time, access becomes easier. Eventually, quiet no longer needs to be invited. It appears on its own, in pauses, between thoughts, at the edges of activity. This spontaneous quiet is a sign of integration. The system has internalized regulation. At this stage, quiet is not used. It is inhabited. It remains present during engagement, beneath movement and sound. It does not withdraw when attention shifts outward. This persistence reflects maturity in the nervous system. A mature system does not cling to stimulation. It does not fear stillness. It moves fluidly between states. Quiet supports this fluidity by remaining available rather than enforced. This availability changes how rest is experienced. Rest is no longer recovery from damage. It is maintenance of balance. Maintenance requires less effort, less urgency. The nervous system no longer waits for collapse to rest. Quiet has prevented collapse by sustaining capacity. Over time, this changes how life is navigated. Challenges are met without escalation. Transitions occur without resistance. The system trusts its ability to settle again. This trust is the final effect of quiet. Not silence, not stillness. Trust. Trust that the brain knows how to regulate when given space. Trust that nothing essential is lost when activity pauses. Trust that rest does not require justification. Quiet has revealed this trust by removing what obscured it. As this exploration comes to a close, nothing needs to be remembered or applied. No steps need to be followed. Quiet will continue on its own. It will appear where demand softens. It will deepen where consistency remains. It will hold where interruption fades. The brain does not need to be guided there. It already knows the way. For now, quiet remains, unimposed, unforced, present beneath awareness, steady and sufficient, supporting the brain exactly as it was designed to be supported. Long after attention drifts and sleep takes hold, there is nothing left to do now. The work that needed doing has already been given space. The systems that respond to quiet have responded in their own time. Nothing needs to be held in mind. Nothing needs to be remembered. Quiet does not require attention to remain present. If thoughts appear, they can drift. If awareness fades, it can fade. If sleep arrives, it arrives naturally. The nervous system continues its rhythm without supervision. Repair, regulation, and rest continue beneath awareness. This space remains safe, predictable, undemanding. Sound, if it exists, is distant. Time moves without urgency. The body knows how to follow. You do not need to stay here consciously. You can let go of listening, let go of tracking. Quiet remains, whether it is noticed or not. If you wake later, it will still be here. If sleep deepens, it will move with you. There is no endpoint to reach, no moment to mark, just a gradual softening, a widening stillness, a settling that continues on its own. Thank you for spending this time in quiet. Wherever the rest of the night leads, nothing more is required. Quiet stays with you now.